Hi folks, today I'm going to do a video about Seymour Duncan humbucker pickups because you might be in the market and not sure which one to go for. It's not a huge number here, it's two. One is in this Jackson Soloist and that is the Seymour Duncan Distortion, and in my Kramer Pacer is the Seymour Duncan JB. So both quite high output pickups, both kind of geared towards the rock metal world. So I thought I'll just give you as seamlessly and quick as I can a kind of A-B comparison of a clean, a crunch and a high gain sound through the Peavey Ultra into that Harley Benton with vintage 30s. And I'll also do a little rundown through that Peavey Windsor, which is kind of more Marshall-esque toned into its own cabinet. So that's just going to be a kind of high gain sound because that's really all that one does. Anyway, I'll start with some clean. Both guitars are tuned to D. Both are using the same D'Addario strings, but that's where the similarity ends. So please don't get too hung up on, oh, that's a different wood, that's a neck through construction, that's this, that's that, that's 24 fret, that's 22. This is just a kind of tonal comparison of the pickups, the best I can without getting a soldering iron out and wasting a day swapping things round. And to my ears there is a difference and I would love to know what you think. By the way, this is my 100th video and some likes and subscribes are always very, very welcome. So I'll just start with a clean tone through the Peavey and nice and simple. Just a few chords and then I'll just quickly swap guitars. So there we go. That is the Seymour Duncan Distortion. Not very distorted as you hear. Not in that channel anyway. And the JB, without touching a single thing. Okay, swapsy over again and we'll do some crunch. The crunch is set on the lower crunch setting on the amplifier and it's just over halfway. The crunch and the lead share the same EQ. So here we go with a crunch sound. And now back to the JB. little bit of chuggy stuff on the high gain. Both are great pickups, both behave very, very well at high volume, high gain. Never had an issue with either of them. So here we go in some chuggy stuff. Back to the JB. Okay, so that's everything through a 6L6 equipped Peavey. So the Ultra Plus is kind of one of the earlier alternations, don't know if that's a word, of the Peavey Ultra range. It's kind of halfway between a XXX and a 5150 to my ears anyway, and it's an absolutely great amp. I've used no boosts, nothing else in that. It's just the cable into the amp. Right. I'll stop this just now and I'll switch on the Peavey Windsor, plug it in, and you'll hear that. I'll use a Boss SD1 as the boost so you can hear that quintessential kind of JCM boosted sound that you should all kind of know. That's the Zakk Wylde kind of tone. Back in a second. Okay, so this should give you a rough idea of the same two pickups if you're using more of a Marshall tone. Less of an American tone, more of a British tone. The Peavey Windsor, the gain is set to about 3 o'clock, just between 2 and 3 o'clock. So it's quite high, and it's also boosted with the Boss SD1 to tighten it up. And here is Seymour Duncan Distortion. Okay, this will be a bit noisy changing it because it's... Oh, wait a minute. No, what? I'll just put it on standby. So again, no trickery, nothing else, straight in. Here is the JB. and keep this video fairly short for once, but it gives you a rough idea between the two pickups. Now, it's worth maybe giving my kind of opinions. I love both, I use both all the time. The best way I can describe it to my ears is, think of it like having overdrive pedals. To me, using the Seymour Duncan Distortion is very much like the Blues Driver kind of pickup. It's very full range. There's a lot of low end, there's a lot of mids, there's a lot of high end. It's all there, and it's quite well balanced. The JB, I would reckon, is a little bit more like your SD1 or Tube Screamer, because it's a little bit more mid-pushed, and sometimes that works to your advantage. I would say if you're in a band situation where there's a couple of guitar players, having that mid-push does help. It just gets you cutting through. If you're a lead guitar player, probably even more so. It just gives you that little bit of an edge. If you're playing more 80s kind of rock as well, I tend to prefer the JB. But if you're playing something a bit more modern, which is quite even, quite solid, quite a dense mix, then the Distortion works well. But that's just my thoughts, my opinions. I would love to know what you think. Both are great, both are about the same output, both are around the same price, and I'll put links to both in the description below. So I hope that's of use to you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have something for you again very, very soon. Bye bye.